to the Comedy Studio Podcast,
The only podcast.
I'm your host, Danny Hatch. Your other host is Eli Levy.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. How's your Leon book?
It's good. I mean, I wouldn't say it's very helpful, but it's funny.
Yeah. No good life lessons in there?
Most of the life lessons are about fucking. He even recommends if you're in like a committed relationship, this book is not necessarily for you. So it's just hypothetical at this point.
Did you see that Star Wars movie that J.B. Smoove is in? Not Star Wars, Spider-Man.
Which one?
Far From Home, he plays one of the teachers that go on the Euro trip with them. Oh, it's fun.
I have not. If you play GTA 5, he is the radio host for GTA 5's like talk show on the radio.
He's got a good voice. Good voice. Our special guest today. He's the inventor of Rick's special coronavirus test, the only coronavirus test administered rectally. Please welcome to the show, Rick Jenkins.
Thank you. Is Grand Theft Auto still as like hookers and murder and prostitution? Everything? There was a big
that was never like the main point of the game. It's the whole point of the game is like you're a specific character with like a storyline, and you're doing missions to achieve a goal. You can pick up hookers in the game. It's just not the main part of the game.
Yeah, I just remember some years ago that being like a big point of controversy that it was.
The same people that had that controversy are the same people asking Mark Zuckerberg in a Senate hearing how to log into Facebook.
Right? Do you remember the big controversy surrounding Grand Theft Auto, Eli?
Was it the hot coffee incident?
It was the hot coffee mod.
It was a mod that you could actually watch an entire sex scene, and it made the game go from M rating for mature to an A rating for adult.
And not only watch, but as I recall, you could perform. It was like press A to like.
It was a mod, and you can only mod it on PC. You can't mod it on like Xbox or a console.
But it was a big shit show for them over at Rockstar Games.
So why was it known as Hot Coffee, and what was...
Hot Coffee was just the name of the mod. So anyone who has the engine kit to a game, like basically the building blocks for that game, you can develop a modification, which then you can put online. I can download the mod and then add that mod to the game. And it changes the game. It adds maybe a feature. Maybe it adds a whole new gameplay aspect. And in this instant, it was sex.
Yes, and I believe it's a scene that starts where a woman invites your character in for coffee, and then from there.
Was it so? It wasn't something that the game put out. It's something
No.
that someone modified.
Just some guy. It wasn't a Rockstar.
Really? I thought it was like a hidden thing that someone went into the root files and pulled out. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, Rockstar didn't want you to see it in the first place.
But they kind of did. Well, Rick, how are you today? Now that now that we've aroused you.
Well, you can fucking video games. I might need to take a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
Go buy an Xbox.
Interestingly, they are saying that the problem with 3D porn, that they're now doing like virtual reality porn, and the problem is that it's too real. That like you're looking at like a giant vagina, and it's just intimidating and scary. And that the porn is going all the way back to like really, really vanilla stuff, so it doesn't overwhelm you.
Maybe in the VR realm, but in the regular realm, not so much.
Where you come from, Rick, a giant vagina is not considered vanilla?
I think, a vagina the
That's
size
as vanilla
of
as it gets, baby.
Let's make it bigger.
Yeah. Blow it up.
I was like, I could walk inside that thing.
I've never tried. You need the goggles for it.
Yes.
A whole extra add-on.
Well, actually, if you want it cheap, you can get like a Google Cardboard set for $10.
Remember those? Funnily enough, about 2 weeks ago, we got a package and it was like VR goggles, but neither of us remembered ordering from like a Chinese, it was like a Chinese return address.
Did we ever find out what happened with those seeds?
Yeah. They analyzed it, and most of them are just a bunch of different herbs and spices and different vegetables. They're just not
thrown into the shipping process.
Some of them were unknown, but They don't know why they were sent, but the seeds themselves have been analyzed. They just still recommend you don't plant them because they're not native to this ecosystem.
Some guy planted them, right? He was like, "Yeah, I'll see what happens here."
A bunch of people did.
Um, that seems risky. What if it's like opium or something? Poppies, or like what if it's
You
one
know,
of
you
those
get
big-
poppy seed bagels, right?
One of those. Yes, I do.
Or it produces like chicken pox or something, not native
Mhm.
here, so it doesn't have a natural predator.
Right, or what if it's one of those big man-eating plants, like in Little Shop of Horrors? Audrey.
Rennis.
And we get a great new
Yes.
musical.
Let's
See,
talk
ties
about
together.
that. What was that, Rick?
I was just saying it ties together.
It ties together.
That
Rick
flows very
Moranis.
nicely.
So I don't know this
So-
story yet. I keep seeing it posted about, but I don't know what.
He
Give me
was
the story.
Assaulted in New York. Someone, I think, walked up behind him while he was walking on the sidewalk
No,
in
it's
New York.
they have the video.
Okay.
It's
There's a
they're just
video?
passing each other on the
Oh, they're just
street,
passing. Okay.
and the guy just sort of all of a sudden like turns and just gives him a real shot, and then comes up behind as he's falling, hits him again, and then
Okay.
just walks away.
He doesn't rob him or anything?
Hmm?
He doesn't take anything?
No,
That's really, really weird.
yeah, no, it's just one of those things. And like I said, it's Rick Moranis. He's been out of the reason he's been out of the picture is because his wife passed away,
Yep.
and he left show business to take care of the kids, and so he's just coming back now. He
Mhm.
gets assaulted in New York.
Did you see his commercial he just did?
Yes.
His Mint Mobile commercial with Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds.
I did.
I was like, if that's why he got fucking assaulted, was it really worth it? Do a Mint Mobile commercial? It was a cute commercial
Yeah.
where Ryan Reynolds is just fawning over the presence of Rick Moranis. But yeah, that was sad to see. I hope he's okay.
I like Ryan Reynolds a lot.
Rick Moranis has got to be what, like 80, 90 years old at this point?
I don't know how old
No,
he
I
is.
wouldn't think so.
I always overshoot.
Yeah,
He's
probably
probably
like John
65,
Candy and all the other SCTV people.
70.
Yeah,
He's probably
okay.
70.
Yeah. Late
You ever
60s,
see
early
You ever see Strange Brew?
Yes.
One of the greats. One of my dad's favorite movies.
Exact same plot as Hamlet.
Yes, Elsinore Brewery.
Yes.
It's a funny movie. My dad took us to see this Disney movie, Brother Bear. Have you heard of it? It's an animated movie.
Oh,
It
yeah,
stars
I've
the
seen
voice
that
of
movie.
Joaquin Phoenix. But the whole reason my dad took us was because there were these two moose characters in it, and they were voiced by Bob and Doug McKenzie, doing their Bob and Doug McKenzie shtick.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "Well, we gotta go see it. It's like a pseudo sequel to Strange Brew."
Brother Bear is a pseudo sequel.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know how Strange Brew would hold up. I tried to convince Rosa to rent it, but we watched the trailer and she was like, "I don't think I would like this."
Yeah, I don't
It's a
remember
pretty
it being,
strange movie.
Yeah, it's like a typical SCTV thing where the concepts are really broad and the laughs are like, "Oh, I get that. Oh, wow, that's crazy," rather than what my guess is that Rosa's used to.
Well, you've got her in class. Well, you
Yes.
probably shouldn't start the precedent of you talking about your students in class.
I mean,
But,
we didn't have
Rosa
any
will be
HIPAA.
performing- She will be performing on Saturday.
That's no
On Thursday.
on Thursday.
Thursday.
She's
Thursday.
in the second class.
Oh,
So she's taking the class Wednesday, this
Mhm.
coming Wednesday. She's taking the class tomorrow.
her showcase is next Wednesday. Showcase is next Wednesday for the number 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she'll be performing next week.
10-14 for all you listeners out there that want to
She's-
watch
yes.
our students.
Get tickets on the website.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
a really fun class. There's everyone's got stuff now. My theory is that now everybody knows comedy well enough that you begin from a mediocre point.
Mm.
Nobody, even that comedy hell, you didn't really have people just going up there, sucking and not knowing what they were doing.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah,
What they
we
were
did.
trying to do.
Plenty of stool sex, plenty of just being drunk, plenty of
But even beyond that, I mean, that's still like sort of stand up. There were some real weird shit.
Yeah.
Or was some real weird shit.
there was definitely some awful stuff that didn't know was being awful.
But I agree, Rick. The more often than not, it was mediocre.
Yeah.
At worst.
I'll agree with that, yeah. We can agree on that.
67.
Gosh, in 2 years when we can have Comedy Hell again, I don't want to be there.
Oh, I can't wait.
What's
Oh,
it gonna look
yeah.
like? It's just gonna look like the same exact people. Like we haven't skipped a beat. I guess everything
Yeah.
is like on pause now. How do you
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
ascend in the comedy world?
Yeah, I mean, people taking the class are all. There's a lot of people. I would say the majority of people have never been on stage live.
Hmm.
You know, you have a whole generation of learning comedy just through the web.
I mean, hopefully they'll only have to learn it on the web for a little bit, and then they'll eventually be able to try it live.
Remember when live shows and Second Life was supposed to be the big new thing?
I never played Second Life. For me, it was RuneScape. You ever play
Oh, I
RuneScape?
loved RuneScape. Sure.
RuneScape still goes on. You can still play it.
I got
We
I'm a
could do
very gullible
RuneScape shit.
person. I fall for a lot of tricks. And when I was like 13 or 14, I fell for a trick on RuneScape, which was that someone like typed, "Whoa, if you type your password, it'll like censor it automatically. Like check it out." And then he posted like a bunch of asterisks. I was like, "Whoa, cool! I want to try that."
You see the
So
one? Yeah.
So I posted my password, and then someone stole my hijacked my account and stole all of my armor and weapons and gold, and I was very, very upset about it.
Do you ever see the guys that are like looking for GF?
No.
Those
No.
are the best. The sad single children looking for a girlfriend on RuneScape.
Are we sure they're children?
I hope.
Online gaming. Well, Second Life was supposed to have concerts and comedy shows and
Well,
like,
yeah, my roommate.
You can make money on Second Life.
At least 10 years ago or so. He set up he was a DJ in Second Life every twice a week. Euro music and people from all over the world. I tried it, but I couldn't figure out how to walk.
fly. That's what's great about Second
but
Life.
once you're
You
in the room-
fly everywhere.
Yeah, once you're in the room, you have to like walk and
Oh,
talk
sure.
and do stuff and all that sort of thing. And,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I am not of the gaming generation. For me, it's like Pac-Man. Okay, I go up, I go over. What's
You
next?
could be. We could turn you into an elite gamer.
We could. My goal at the end of all this is to have you addicted to weed.
Weed and Call of Duty Warzone
Yeah, and like
and Red Bull.
Yeah, and streaming on Twitch for money. I want a complete transformation. I want you to even forget that comedy exists.
We're gonna get you that triple kill.
Just trap you in like a swamp of drugs and video games. And then we become the rightful heirs of the comedy studio.
Now, when you say drugs, would you include like ayahuasca? Would you include?
No.
You don't want to play that while you're playing Call
Yeah,
of
I don't
Duty.
know if you could stream while you're taking ayahuasca.
I had a long talk with Mike Kaplan. That's why.
Yes, how'd it
That's why this
go?
stuff comes up.
He loves the stuff, doesn't he? He goes to
Yeah.
like warehouses in Brooklyn, undisclosed locations, and just
Mm-hmm.
fucking trips for hours and hours.
Yeah.
Seems like it's doing wonders for him.
I wonder how they make a warehouse in the Bronx like a welcoming place at like midnight.
I'm sure that they've done some renovations hither and thither.
Does it strike you as scary? Have either of you tried?
It strikes me as
hallucinogenics?
scary,
Oh yeah,
yes.
you have. Yeah.
Yeah, we've both tried hallucinogenics. I've never tried ayahuasca or DMT, which I think is another form of it.
Why not?
Because it seems scary.
DMT
And
is the drug that gets released in your brain when you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really intense.
Yeah, and I guess you shit your pants for hours with ayahuasca, and you vomit everywhere.
You vomit
I mean,
once, I think, right?
Okay. Yeah, probably. I'm probably exaggerating.
Well, it's like the same thing with peyote. You take the peyote, you throw up, and then the trip starts. I also don't know. I could be wrong.
I mean, every time I do mushrooms, my stomach hurts.
They don't
Like when
taste
come
good.
up, but then I don't think they taste that bad.
I think
It's
it's
great.
It depends what you try to wash them down with, because I washed them down just with a glass of water and it was fine. But like
Mhm.
my roommates would be like, "How about I mix Pepsi and Dr Pepper together?" No.
No.
Peanut butter pizza is if you try too hard, it's not gonna taste good.
But I would like to, one day I would like to go to Peru and like really, like see a shaman, like in that Paul Simon song, Spirit Voices. You familiar with that song, On Rhythm of the Saints? It's all about him going to Peru and like doing ayahuasca and seeing stuff. So maybe I'd like to, but also, gosh, you got to confront so much stuff about yourself. It seems like for the betterment of yourself, but
Now, I remember when DMT was first coming out, that the thinking was that maybe that's the drug that's released in your brain when you're dying, and that's what people see as the light at the end of the tunnel, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
that there was a biological explanation for the out of body.
yes,
Thing. Are
that's
we
my
still thinking
understanding
that?
as well.
That-
I mean, I'm not a scholar of it, but that is what I.
That seems to be the general consensus.
So the people who are saying, "Oh, I left my body and I could look down on myself and I met my deceased relatives and all that," we're thinking now that that's just the drug talking.
I mean, if you think about it, anything that sounds supernatural or like any sort of that kind of experience, and you know that like tripping on drugs is a real thing, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Any sort of experience like that.
Yeah, but I mean, there are people with faith who, believe that when you leave this realm, you go to another one and things are explained to you.
You meet the machine elves.
I mean, when you get really high when you're dying, why wouldn't you believe it?
Yeah.
I read an article about some people who their gland that produces the DMT in their brain is like doesn't work or something, and like so they are
They
just
just
robbed of an afterlife.
Their death is gonna suck so bad.
Yeah,
One of the
that was the point of the article.
Is there's a very, very small percentage of people, obviously, that don't lose consciousness when they're anesthetized, so that they are awake through the whole surgery but unable to use their movement.
Like Autopsy Room 4 by Stephen King.
There you go.
I need to read
I
more.
don't know it, but I can fill
He
the.
wasn't anesthetized, but it's about a guy who gets bit by a snake, and they think he's dead, but he's not. He's just paralyzed, and he can't. And they're like about to, cut him open, and he's trying to.
Oh God.
And then I think he like gets a boner, and that's.
Wait a
like,
minute! I see something.
Yeah, it's like I think that they're like probing his. It's been a while since I read it. It's the first story, and everything's eventual.
Oh, sure. This wasn't on Grand Theft Auto.
But I think they like probe his asshole or something, and he gets a boner, and then they're like, "Oh, holy shit, he's not dead."
What are they fingering his butt, and then he turns out he likes it, and
Yeah,
then
I
he gets a
think so.
boner?
Yeah,
It
it's
been
been.
when Steven was drinking.
No, this was sober Stephen. This is like early '90s Stephen King. This is pre-van accident, if you remember that.
Yeah, you are a big Stephen King fan. Can you, just reading his stuff, get a sense of when he stopped drinking and when he was hit by the van?
Yeah, but only because I know like those periods of his life very well. I don't know.
So,
I mean,
so you know it from knowing the facts, not from reading.
Yeah,
like,
there's.
he's writing different now.
Yeah, yes. I mean, like, so if you read like the Tommyknockers, have you ever read the Tommyknockers?
The only Stephen King I've read is on.
Oh, it's On Writing, which is great.
Yes.
I think that was post van accident. That might have been the first thing he wrote after being hit.
I don't think so. Only because I read it so long ago.
Well, anyway, we can look it up later.
Yeah.
But he wrote this book, The Tommyknockers, and that is clearly he was clearly fucked up for that one. There's a lot of like weird shit. Like even the writing of it is weird. Like it doesn't have a conventional like sentence structure for much of it. Even it's like weird. And then I know like anecdotally he does remember writing Cujo. So then I could go back and read Cujo and be like, oh okay, yeah, this is pretty druggy. But other than that, no, I don't think so. Let's talk about Mike Kaplan's podcast. How'd it go?
Oh boy, that was fun.
Did you utilize the tools we gave you?
Yes, they were mentioned. It's interesting because the way he does his podcast is he does it in two halves. And we did about 45 minutes each half, and one half goes on to his Patreon, and the other half is live and the live or free. And the free one was the second one we did.
Interesting.
So we took a break and did the one. It's a little bit more in depth. I was talking to my sister. She said, "I didn't know that about you."
My mom says that a lot when listening to this podcast.
Yeah. So Mike led me into a lot of places I didn't think I was going.
Yeah, like what? Give us a taste. Because I listened to part of it, but I was like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like I'm at work right now. Podcast time is my leisure time.
Thank you so much.
No, I'll finish it.
You should have just clocked in to listen to it then.
Yeah. Getting paid to do the dishes and listen to
Hey,
podcasts.
What'd you do today? Listen to your stupid podcast. That's what I did.
No,
I
no,
got
what did it
paid
get
to
out of
take
you?
a
What was
walk.
in the? Tell me about something in the Patreon episode, because I'm definitely not going to listen to that. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not sure because it all sort of
Blends
combines
together.
but it's a lot of him giving me a pep talk.
That's
Okay.
good.
Because I'm like, gee, my stand-up career never really went
Aw.
anywhere, and all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of you changed my life. I would have been a doctor if it wasn't for you. And I'm like, well, that's not
Wow.
really a good thing.
But he's a successful. If he was a failed comedian and you warned him off the doctor path,
I
then
could have
yes,
been a doctor if it
that
wasn't
would
for
be
you
bad.
just
But he's
eating
a
a
very
burger out of the
successful-
garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing
Yeah.
we got a guy trying to scrape by on his Patreon instead of being on the front lines of COVID.
Oh, come on. But we might have lost him. How sad would that be? He seemed
yeah, it
very
was a-
honored to have you based
Yeah,
on the
it was
intro.
a lot more personal than
Mm,
I was expecting. I thought we were going to be talking almost all comedy, and it was almost all personal.
mm. Well, that's what it's all about. Broccoli and ice cream.
Yes.
He was probably
Rosa
feeding
dated
off
this
of your
episode.
sad energy.
Well, and that's what I sort of did leading in was running the club and the paperwork and all that, the booking and the everything that goes into a club other than being on stage is the broccoli,
Mhm.
and the joy is the ice cream of doing the shows and hanging out with the comics.
You gotta have them both.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get sick.
Unless
sick
you're
and
a
fat.
really good comedian.
Right. Then you
Then
can
they'll
just
pay you
eat
to
ice
do
cream
it.
all day.
What they don't mention is that the broccoli's good for you.
Right.
Well,
Sure.
that's the idea of the podcast is the broccoli is the work you'd put in, the ice cream is the joy, and you need both to.
Also, have you guys had like steamed broccoli? Delicious.
I
Delicious.
have
I'll
come
have it over
to
ice cream any day.
like broccoli. I'll still
Me
take ice
too.
cream first, but
Yeah, I guess I would if given the choice. Yes, but broccoli, Brussels sprouts are disgusting.
I don't like Brussels sprouts.
Rosa likes them. I just can't hack it. But broccoli, I've certainly come to appreciate. Broccoli and cauliflower, I've really come to appreciate in my old age.
You and I would be really bad on Mike's podcast because we would just be like, yeah, I'd probably take ice cream
Oh.
over broccoli and just take it way too literally.
Yep, the whole time.
Well, then I went across the pond and been listening to Stuart Goldsmith's podcast
Uh huh.
out of London, and
Should we get you on that one?
oh, I'd love to. A lot of it is really, really detailed stuff, and it's Eugene and Mike Kaplan and Gary Goldman and Sam J. and there's almost a dozen comics who start out with us.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm thinking of sending him a fan letter because he really gets into
No, don't
like
do
the
that. Send
minutia.
him not a don't
Hate
approach him
letter.
as a
Hate
fan.
letter. Hate
No,
letter.
Well, not that either. But approach him as a peer.
Threat.
he really gets into the minutia of with Mike just
Or
talking
threat.
about word choice.
Uh huh.
Talking to Mike Kaplan about word choice is like
sounds
watching
thrilling.
a penny dropped into a buzzsaw. It's just like
A
holy
whale's
what just
asshole.
happened.
So do you?
When you think about almost all of his stuff ends up tying at the end.
Mm. We've done that before.
Yeah,
not
almost
that hard.
everything seems like it was planned to get to that point.
Does it make you sad that we don't have it? Your podcast is not an in-depth interview podcast. Does it make you sad that it's just the Freddy fuck around hour?
Not sad, but I would like to do one that was, was more like, Danny, someone has a tattoo of them
Mm-hmm.
on their body because they liked you as a performer. Do you miss that part of the equation? Do you?
No,
I mean, you were pretty close to the top
no, I
of your
wasn't.
chosen field.
The
No, it
top.
wasn't.
You are at the mountaintop, my friend.
I was at base camp.
You were at
Not
Everest.
many people at base camp get tattoos made.
Rick, there's nothing stopping you from starting a podcast like that.
I've seen a lot of people below sea level get tattoos
Mm-hmm.
with people's names on them.
Yeah.
Do you feel better after Mike's pep talk?
Yeah. Did it
Yeah,
help
it's
you?
just the time is so uncertain. I mean, you're just always going back and forth. This was happening last night. I went to bed last night feeling like, wow, I've influenced people's lives, and we've got the club, and people are talking about opening, and looks like we're getting through this, and my personal life is starting to solidify and everything. And then I woke up at 5:15 in the morning, feeling like, oh my God,
The
everything.
president died.
There is not a single thing that's going to work out. Oh my God, this
Oh.
is horrible. And then I wake up at 9:30. I'm like, oh, let me get my coffee and my fruit smoothie, and everything's great. So
Mm.
there's evidence for both sides.
Yeah, but everyone experiences that right now. That's like across the board.
Rick, what a perfect segue to our next topic of conversation.
Ah.
Massachusetts can reopen again? Question mark.
No.
Governor Charlie Baker said that low-risk communities can now enter Phase 3, Step 2, which, among other things, includes indoor venues being allowed to hold performances with 50% capacity. However, Somerville, Cambridge, I think Boston, too, are opting out for now. Your thoughts, Rick, as a venue owner? Pretend I'm the Boston Globe and you're giving me a quote.
Ah, yes. Well, you know what? I am quoted in the Boston Globe.
What?
In fact, I have to check with Eli because the link I have, it says it's now expired or something. But I want to find that quote to put in our weekly newsletter, which everyone should subscribe to.
Which you
I'll
can
have
do
that.
by just going to our website and you'll get a friendly pop-up.
Yes.
But a
yes,
nice
and,
pop-up, not like
Cambridge
for
Day
porn.
asked me for quotes and everything. So, yeah, when you get something like that, you want to say something clever so that you're in the paper. But I have no idea what I'm talking about. They
But
called
you
me and
made
said,
it into both papers.
Yeah,
So-
they said, do you have any comment on Governor Baker's announcement? I'm like, I don't know what that announcement is. I think I said, and in fact, I was talking with Mike Pincus at the time, who is a really terrific writer, and we tried to like hammer out what to say. It was something like, well, the governor has put the ball in our court. Now it's up to us to make sure everything's safe and we keep up the momentum. Or,
Yeah. Let me try-
something that.
Baker actually mentions us in the Boston Globe.
Yeah.
He
does?
Yeah, he said he listened to our podcast and he's moving comedy to Phase 5.
Yeah, and he wants to talk to the booker. Apparently,
Yeah, he's like, I should have killed comedy way before COVID.
well, we do have some good people in our corner. John Tobin was a city councilor, and he's now one of the owners at Last Boston.
How is he in our corner, though? He owns a different venue.
Well, I mean, in comedy in general.
Sure. No, of course.
Has John Tobin ever said anything bad about you? Does he really care?
I don't know. I seem to get along well with everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think John sees you as an enemy.
No. Yeah, no. And Norm, the other owner, and I, like, we have like dinner once every decade or something. So, well,
Like-
we both
like,
sat in our rooms at the same
The
time.
Gatekeeper's Dinner.
Yeah,
Like
I
one of
still
those
get
Ethan
along-
Hawke movies.
Yeah, I still
where
talk
you're
to Dick
walking around.
Doherty. There's an occasional text with Mike Clark.
All right, here's your quote from the Globe. Ready?
Ah, we found it.
Tuesday's announcement cheered the operators of performance venues.
Yeah,
Rick
thank you.
Jenkins, owner of a comedy studio in Somerville, said the club is dedicated to keeping patrons safe. Now, us small venues have to be responsible and hyper-vigilant, Jenkins said. It's up to us to continue the momentum. It's our part of the response. And for my money, you're the only venue owner quoted in this fucking thing, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
You're big,
Yeah.
big time celebrity now.
yeah. So I feel
Did you
really
get jealous
good
that we were in the paper last week?
I,
Did you have to
I
get
feel
your own?
really good that I'm out there and I'm being noted by the newspaper, and at the same
Mhm.
time I'm not open, so I have no money.
Right.
I'm-
You can afford the newspaper that your name is in.
I do wish you would have taken that opportunity to, as an aside, just specify that Danny Hatch books the Comedy Studio in the Boston Club.
No, it was. It wasn't as long a quote that he said, but they cut it out.
Well, Cambridge Day, I actually talked to 3 different people. Mark Levy, who's a regular listener here,
Hey, Mark.
and
Thanks, Mark.
and 2 other reporters put together stories. So Mark
Mm-hmm.
call me to fact check, and
Ah,
boy, I want to slip in, make sure you mention Danny's.
did he say anything about us talking? I worry that like he finds it weird that we're talking about it so much, and it also, as well, kind of betrays us that like if we had played this cool, it'd be like, oh yeah, they get mentioned in the press all the time.
Yeah.
But the fact that we've made it like a focal point now of 3 episodes.
I just
Well,
hope it.
I get mentioned in the press all the time.
What's that?
I get mentioned in the press all the time, so I don't know about you guys.
Mark, on your next article, make sure to include the title that the Comedy Studio does not play it cool.
No,
We,
that's not what we're known.
we really don't.
Never has been.
Hmm?
I don't think cool when I look at the Comedy Studio, and nor should I.
Really?
I think earnest.
On the podcast with Eugene Merman and Stuart Goldsmith, which, Eugene's title is Alternative Comedy God of New York.
Mm,
That's what they
so
give him.
outdated.
Yes. But yeah, Eugene describes his style and his humor as silly and sincere. I thought that was a perfect way to put the studio and sort of like, yeah, the sincerity is the underpinning of everything.
So is that how you would describe your style?
I read an interesting thing. I talk about this with Mike, that a comedy teacher, because they say an exercise is every comedian, every successful comedian has a hidden agenda. There's something that's motivating them, and all their style comes out of that. So someone like Amy Schumer she's trying to be dignified, but it always comes out wrong. So her hidden agenda is that she's trying to be in polite society, but she's just not.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking of that in terms of me, I think that my hidden agenda is that I want to be a comedian. I want to be a good comedian. So if the joke doesn't work, or if it's tortured or whatever, it still props up the entire thing of like, hey everybody, I'm doing okay, aren't I? I mean, you're laughing, right?
Mm-hmm. You find that to be a common agenda comics have?
That they want to be good comedians?
Yeah, that like the character they're playing is a guy who wants to be good at comedy,
No, I
but
think
isn't,
everyone is.
but it's
Yeah,
charming.
yeah.
Not
No,
that
I
you're
think
not.
yeah, you at least go into it wanting to be that guy.
Mm. And you've achieved it.
Yeah, I think my style has gone more I never quite achieved that.
Do you hope that when you die and go to heaven, and of course heaven is real, we all remember that book that little boy and his parents wrote? Do you hope that you'll get there and you'll see how influential your style was or was not? Like you'll get to
Interesting,
see
because
all of the.
I never thought of my style as being influential.
Oh, I don't either, but I'm wondering.
I think having a club where people could go to, having a
Mhm.
central meeting point, has been
Mhm.
influential.
Yeah, if you go to heaven and you see Jesus doing "Did you hear who died" jokes on
Yeah.
stage, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
Are you gonna? So one nice thing I saw, Rosa, my partner, loves these TikToks, all the rage, and she was showing me one where some Irish guy dies, right, and then in his coffin, I guess he like made a recording that they played, and he's like,
Oh, okay.
"Hey, let me out!" Like pounding
Yeah.
on the, "What's going on in here?" And
Yeah.
everyone's laughing as they're burying him, and it's nice. Are you gonna? And Harris Whittles did something similar, unintentionally. Yeah, not on purpose, but there used to be this service called Eardrop where like comedians could call this line and leave a voicemail, and then they released the voicemails as a podcast.
Oh.
So years before he died, Harris Whittles sent one in where he's like calling from heaven. He's like, "It's great up here. Like we all really do just live on the clouds. Hitler's here because of a whole vegetarian thing, so kind of calling bullshit on that." And they played that after he died on Comedy Bang Bang, and it was a nice little button,
wow.
So my question is, Rick, are you going to leave behind a tranche of "Did you hear who died" me jokes, so that after you die, you can, have you can have one final gift to the world?
I
Make
really
it
have
a
to
bit
put them.
easier. Not
really
that you'll
put
ever
them-
die,
We have to put them together in a book or something. We're talking to the students.
but about you.
We were talking to the students about how you categorize your material and where you keep it and where you put your set list and all that. And I realized I don't have anything.
Mm.
Last week we had unfortunately one of the comedians had to cancel, and all of a sudden I'm thinking I've got to fill 5 minutes and I can't remember any of my act.
Mm.
I've got to go back and
It's a harrowing
start,
position.
start finding stuff. So because I'm always hosting, so you drop in a joke here or there. You don't really need to structure an act. You just need to remember a witticism or two.
Well, don't you have a book full of all your "Did you hear who died" jokes?
No, 1 year, I think it was 16 or 17. I put them all on a Word document as I was going along, and then forgot about it. So I have 1 year of "Did you hear who died" jokes, and it comes to about 80.
Well, I thought you had a Hong Kong menu that's full of your jokes.
Yeah.
Those are all from like 2016. That was all like
Yeah.
printed, and then I would add a couple if I thought of it.
But I think we still have that.
Yeah, I think we got it somewhere.
It's at the club.
Yeah, I think it's on the hard drive of that other computer I have.
Take it to Micro Center.
Microsoft will do
Say,
it.
I've got jokes out here. You
Yeah.
gotta get them out.
I've got jokes over here.
If people don't know what we're talking about, is like over the course of years, I've had this thing where if someone in the news or someone with a weird hobby or something or other, dies, we'll come up with like a cute little joke about it. And it's really a good example of exercise if you're a comedian, because you're just taking two things. You're taking what that person is and what they're known for, and things about death. So you've got, where is the coffin? What did they die from? What was the funeral like? All those things. It's already in your head, and then you just have to take the other side of it, which is, what do you know about that person, and find a connection. So when the woman who invented the slinky passed away, first thing that came to mind, all right, what does everyone know about the slinky? Oh,
It always gets
you put it on
tangled.
the stairs. Yeah, you put it on the stairs and down. So excuse me.
Just
So
like
the joke is,
that.
they put her in the coffin and pushed it downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just marrying the two, and since it's always, did you hear who died? You've always got those connections. So it's just a matter of, what does everyone know about the subject?
You've inadvertently written the perfect joke.
Yeah.
Do you have jokes about old celebrities, like newspapers have obituaries like on standby, ready to hit publish whenever the time comes?
Oh,
Like, do you have
yeah.
jokes about people who are still alive?
Oh,
Like, let's hear your Trump joke, because he's a goner, certainly.
all right. Well,
Your
how would I
one
do
Trump joke.
Well, obviously, it would depend on how he died.
I wonder how it's gonna be.
How about he died from eating his own farts?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd probably go with something like, he didn't get a second to. With someone like Trump, it's difficult because you also don't want to alienate half the audience. When it's brand new.
I do.
Yeah, when it's brand new, you want to like when Whitney Houston died, everyone was like, "Oh, I loved her." So you got to be really careful.
Yeah, Whitney Houston was much more beloved, and still is much more beloved than Donald Trump is.
I don't know. Nearly half the country have signs on their lawn.
Not.
I did see in the Boston Globe that 56% of Americans blame the United States government for how bad the COVID crisis is in America. So.
Yeah, and he's making that worse with. I noticed him breathing. That was the exact way I was when I was like 10 years old with asthma. I had asthma very bad.
He
Just that
looked
sort of chest
bad.
out,
Yeah.
breathing, and just trying to make it look like you're not having trouble breathing, but at the same time hoping nobody says anything because you do not have the breath waste trying
Mhm.
to talk.
So, in case anyone has been living under a rock like Patrick Starr from SpongeBob, Donald Trump got the coronavirus from what looks like a super spreading event at the Rose Garden to congratulate themselves on nominating their pro-life candidate, Amy Coney Barrett, who, if you criticize her, you're criticizing all of Catholicism.
And there's nothing to criticize in Catholicism.
No, it's the best fucking shit in the world.
I thought she belonged to like a group that was an offshoot of Catholicism.
I think she's
that was
still
the
Catholic, though.
Okay, well, so is Biden.
Exactly.
And
That's what's stupid when people say if you criticize her, you're criticizing Catholicism. Because,
Yeah. Pelosi
Anyway.
and Biden.
So Donald Trump got coronavirus from this event, as well as like a dozen people in his cabinet and senators and just people who glom onto him. He went to the hospital this past weekend, Walter Reed, which is right next to my house practically. Then he was released, and the first thing he did when he was released, he took his mask off in front of the cameras and like struggled to breathe like a fish out of water. And it doesn't look good for him.
And he also,
I'm not rooting for it necessarily because it's just random chance and there's nothing to root for, but it's not looking good for him.
One of the things I worry about is apparently he restaged his entrance. Into the
Yes,
White
he
House to
did.
make it
He
look
did.
better.
He did.
That worries me because that's sort of like, okay, if you think you're strong enough to check yourself out, fine, but don't push it.
Right. Yes. What do we think?
I think he'll make it.
You know, it does seem to dictate that he will.
And if he does make it, it's going to be really bad because he's also told people not to let the virus, like, don't worry about the coronavirus, don't let it dominate your life. So if he makes it, that's going to solidify that to people that believe him.
Yeah, because the percentages are what? It's 2 in 100 get it, and 2 out of 100 who get it die?
I don't know the specifics.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems low to me, but what do I know? I think it looks bad for him, though. I mean, he like a week ago he was making fun of Biden for wearing wearing the biggest mask you ever did see.
Yeah, but his
now it
media's
looks like
team
he might have known at that point.
Oh,
It
he already
does.
knew.
Did you see that? His team showed up late to the debate, too late to get tested, and they went on the honor system, which you should never ever do with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You should never go with the honor system with him.
Yeah. So it seems like Annie went to that donor dinner. It seems like he knew that.
He got Chris Christie sick and didn't even tell him. He had to find out from the news and get himself tested. Why is Chris Christie? I mean, fuck Chris Christie. Anything he does to harm himself further is fine by me.
Yeah.
But why does he still associate with Trump? He treats him like shit. Like
I don't know. He's just
every step of the way. You remember when there's that picture of him like getting McDonald's for them from like
Yeah.
2016?
I don't remember that, but that's hilarious.
He was the head of a transition team when they were sure they were going to lose, and then they won, and all of a sudden they kicked Chris Christie off being the head of a transition. Like they just have no respect for him, blatantly. Didn't even have the respect to text him and let him know that Hope Hicks tested positive when they were all.
Yeah. And Giuliani was interviewed yesterday, coughing.
Did you see his freaky hand?
Yeah.
I mean,
His
Giuliani
hand looks like a dead guy's hand.
He just looks like Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars.
He does look like Emperor Palpatine.
It looks like if you like tapped him on the shoulder, he'd crumble to dust.
So that's our political roundup.
It seemed like that. I read The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, and the parallels are just absolutely amazing.
You think
Let's
Trump
hear
is
it.
like Nero?
Not Nero, but yeah, that's that sort of thing where it's unbridled wealth is the richest time in history, and yet you still have this huge wage gap where you've got some really really poor people while everyone else other people, and you've got that huge gap, and then a pandemic hits just as you have a leader come into power who's very vain and makes decisions not necessarily based on the just all that stuff sort of coming together. I think we'll definitely be looking back as post World War II until 2020 was the golden age for America. I don't think we're going to have much bragging rights after this.
What comes?
I mean, for a while from now, maybe like 2030, will probably be pretty good. But because you have highs and lows in anything. If we're like super low right now, 30 years from now, we'll be high.
Yeah, but just with all the natural resources and all the, all the stuff that, we were the center of the universe, and I don't think that's true anymore. I don't think Germany and Japan and everyone is looking to us for the dollar and...
Oh, no. But that's why we have to be the leader in at least the environmental aspect. Like, first of all, we need to ditch fossil fuels immediately.
Well, and the rest of the world agrees, yeah.
The thing is, if
we're the only ones who don't agree.
If we don't ditch fossil fuels like immediately as an entire planet, we are doomed. It's bad. Like
and now, isn't gas is like what, $1 a gallon or something? It's like it actually costs more to transport it than it does to sell it.
Well, we've dipped into our reserves. I think Obama actually was the one that made the decision to dip into our oil reserves.
The fracking and the shell and all that sort of stuff that we're now sufficient.
I don't know for sure, but I know that we've dipped into our reserves recently.
What do the next 5 years look like for America, Rick?
I think it all depends on November 3rd.
Let's say Biden wins, but then dies.
I don't know. I would have hope that we would address the racial issues, the wealth issues, some of those underlying things that we've had so much money we've been able to sort of ignore. It's sort of been like, race is always a question, but we should really do something about that. But the new Grand Theft Auto just came out, so let's talk about that.
Don't you demonize gamers, Rick?
I think
the nicest people in the world.
The huge. I mean, we are the
gamers have never been mean to anybody.
The richest country at the richest time the universe has ever known.
Yeah.
And when you think of it in that context, it's we probably should have gone back and solved some of these structural problems.
Now, what happens if Trump wins?
I don't know. I kind of always I go back to how I felt when Trump won in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't worry about Trump himself so much as the true believers.
Mm.
You know, I don't worry about Trump, putting his name on Mount Rushmore. I worry about that Supreme Court justice who thinks, that God is speaking directly to her.
Mm-hmm.
I worry about that.
Yeah, Elena Kagan, right? She's the one who thinks
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, I see Alito
I'm
and
just kidding.
Thomas
Mm-hmm. They
issued
want to
statements saying that they
do
are
away with gay marriage.
they're opposed to the gay marriage
Which,
decision.
what's the point? What's the point?
And if
Cruelty.
and if it comes before them again, they'd probably vote the other way, which means if a case for gay marriage comes to the court, that could easily be reversed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see America going pretty backwards if Trump wins
Well,
again.
You gotta laugh, and that's why comedy clubs are recession-proof.
Generally, comedy does well as an anti thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to make fun of Reagan than to support Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
Unless
that,
you're
yeah.
friggin' Key and Peele doing that anger translator.
Yeah. I think that to me that's the really interesting thing about what's happening now is both sides. When Trump was diagnosed, both sides said karma's a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides are saying almost the exact same thing about the other. In like everything, it's like the left is saying we've lost our way morally because we're persecuting race and we're persecuting this and that, and the other side is saying we've morally lost our way because we don't have God in schools and we don't have religion and we're not following and both sides just seem to have carved out this area of we've lost our way and we have to fight that other side or we fall into this pit.
Meanwhile, no one's like, hey, I don't know if anyone realizes that we're all going to die in 50 years if we don't fix the environment.
Well, I mean, that side says, no, we're not. It says, hey, the Earth is really, really big. The Earth's been around. We don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. We're going to die in 50 years.
And we need, and you need the jobs. So are you willing to not have a job in return for no fossil fuels?
Yeah, I mean, you can't work a job if there's no humanity. That's living is endgame.
Yeah, I don't know. You got if you've got your family and it's a choice between working and not working.
You can't work if there's no humanity.
Sure, but people, that is a very admirable long game view of things that some people probably will not have.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to. I guess the main point is that nobody's talking to each other. Everybody's just arguing and
That's
hating on
right.
each other.
We got to bring the people together, don't we? And the way we do that is crass jokes about Trump dying.
But most of the time, throughout history, you notice that people come together for a greater enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And people just don't understand that the environment is the greater enemy.
You guys read Watchmen, the graphic novel?
I haven't read it yet, but I have it.
The big plot is one of EX superheroes. He realizes that America and Russia are headed for a nuclear war, and we need a common enemy. So he engineers like a fake alien invasion that destroys New York essentially, but brings the world together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we need.
Basically the Avengers theme, isn't it? Of needing to kill a whole bunch of people to save the rest.
So yes, the bad guy of the last two Avengers movies, Thanos, his big plot is to wipe out half of all life in the universe because resources have gotten too scant and overpopulation has run rampant. So that once he does that, he snaps his fingers with his magic glove, and the world is renewed resource-wise. But then the Avengers go back and undo his hard work. You'd love those movies, Rick. You would adore them.
So what role do you think comedy or entertainment in general have in this world right now? Are we there to explain it? Are we there to distract from it? Are we there to should we not be there?
No, we should be here. Comedy should be there because it exists basically to push the line. Like when you see people get angry at comedians, that means the comedian is actually doing their job pretty well. Because they're bringing awareness to something that people don't want to listen to. Like, no one wants to listen to something they don't agree with. But comedians are there to get those ideas out there anyway.
Put
You feel the
that
same way
pill
about
in a peanut butter pocket.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel the same way when you're watching Greg Gutfeld on Fox?
I don't know who that is.
He's he's the funny man on Fox. He
I
has
mean,
a late night show on Fox.
I would say that, if you're a newsman on Fox News, you're not necessarily a comedian.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is you're saying the role of the comedian is to speak the truth.
Yeah.
It sounds like the truth as you see it.
No, but
If he's doing humor pro-Trump, then he's not really a comedian because you disagree with that.
no, they're on Fox News. That's not a comedy network. That's not a platform for comedy.
You could certainly argue that Colbert on CBS is not a, the CNN, Fox, CNN.
I would say that no news network should be trying to be funny.
Except for CNN on New Year's, which is their one night off to fucking party and get loaded.
I mean, that's why the Daily Show exists, was to make fun of news networks.
Yeah, so like
and their faults.
Colbert, Seth Meyers, all those slightly left-leaning shows.
Yeah, their existence shows how faulted our actual news organizations are, because comedian news organizations do a better job somehow than actual news organizations, and that in itself makes fun of how shitty mainstream news is.
So what about, instead of Greg Gutfeld, someone like Anthony Cumia?
Oh, what show is this?
The more disgraced guy from Opie and Anthony.
Oh, the Opie and Anthony guy.
They're both disgraced, I think, at this point. But he does some pretty strict right-wing comedy from what he calls the compound.
I think it's fine. Yeah, I don't see a problem with it. I might not agree with it, but that's what...
It has a right to exist.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how Rogan's image has evolved.
I mean, also, like, people saying that, like, Rogan is influential. He is, but, like, it's not like he meant to be influential. He just wanted to do a fucking podcast.
Would you consider Rogan a conservative, liberal, or just a straight shooter?
I think he's just a straight shooter. He, like, specifies that he's not trying to, like, be in a specific camp.
Yeah, he likes the ayahuasca. He likes the guns.
He just likes to do whatever he likes to do. He just likes existing.
I don't know if I define him as a straight shooter, but I agree. I don't think he is right or left.
He doesn't.
Is he libertarian?
He just doesn't want to be defined by other people. Like he just doesn't want you or me or him, you, me, or Rick to decide who he is.
Mm-hmm. But I will. I'll tell him, Joe, you're not a straight shooter. A, and B, you need to be nicer to people.
There was a comedian,
Bub.
So Joe stopped by the club once and did a set, just because I know him from way back when.
Mm-hmm. Comes up often.
I'm sorry?
It's just funny how often this comes up that like you know him, but I didn't know he stopped by the club.
Oh, so you don't know this story?
No.
I think I might know the story. I think I heard it from somebody else.
Comes up often, not this
I've got
particular
so many
story.
Stories. Yeah, so Joe stops in and does a set, and it's probably at least a decade ago. But his set is just filled with, all these fags and and
Rick, stop.
Yeah,
you can
so
say the euphemism.
And there's a comedian in the back who starts heckling him.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets kind of heated. Rogan's like, "Oh, shut up!" And when Joe leaves, this comedian, who's a comedian and gay, goes down, and they sort of have a argument of, you're on the wrong side of history, and you're taking it too seriously. It's just a word, that sort of stuff. And it kind of came to me of, well, who are you supporting in this? Who do you, what side are you taking? And my feeling was that as a comedian, he should have not said anything because Joe is at, that level in the hierarchy. However, as a gay man, I think he was almost required to say something and make a point of it.
So you think once a comedian gets to a certain point, other comedians can't? I mean, I guess heckling in general is frowned upon. I don't know how I feel about this whole hierarchy.
I would say reaching a certain.
I don't think the hierarchy. I mean, I do think the hierarchy matters because I've definitely seen people that suck at comedy, like criticizing Joe Rogan, saying they don't like him or like he's not a good comedian, whereas he's obviously way better than they are, and way more successful than they are, and he's achieved something that they'll never achieve. and just the balls to criticize somebody in that manner just seems stupid.
Well, but they can still be a bad comedian and think he's a bad comedian too.
Yeah, but like it doesn't make any sense, I don't think. But like I will say that the only thing that matters is in that specific instance, in terms of the comedy, was in that set was the audience laughing, or was it a silent room? Because that'll tell you whether or not his set was good or not. If the audience enjoyed it, that's it.
I don't know if you can you really take that word out of it. I mean, whether they were laughing or not.
What was the audience
that
laughing?
Word.
I mean,
I think, yeah.
I personally I wouldn't say the word, and I don't think he probably should have, and I don't think I think he has. That was also a long time ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does I don't think he says the word like that anymore.
Sure.
Probably not. Oh yeah, a lot of people have evolved since then.
I mean,
No,
people
when he
change,
started
so.
out- yeah, when he started out, he was very, very good right from the beginning. He had that very aggressive, joke-intensive description, specifics, all very, very intensive and all that. The only rock against him in Boston was that he was too dirty. And I think also that it was kind of threatening because you had this, kid from a generation or two before the established headliners, just ripping it apart. But yeah, he was seen as a guy who goes dirty and gets the quote unquote, Revere Saugus kind of crowd that was, all guys, all women hating, that sort of stuff. That was the rap on him. But at the same time, you could see technically he had it all.
Yeah, I mean that criticism just sounds like jealousy.
This comedian who heckled him, was it Carlos Mencia?
Well, yeah, I mean, you gotta give him credit. Yeah, so he did that. So he went up and heckled a comedian, basically.
Right. And not to say anything about Carlos Mencia's skill as a comedian, if there is a hierarchy, I think at that point that happened, Carlos Mencia was higher up in the hierarchy than Joe Rogan.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably around the same time that happened. This is probably 10 years ago that he lambasted Mencia, right?
Yeah, but Mencia stole
Honestly.
jokes.
Okay, and Joe Rogan said a hate slur on stage in front of a gay guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he
You
was
can
saying it
justify
to
it
the
however
gay
you
guy,
want.
but like.
But sure, but he said it in front of you can
Yeah,
always
Joe went up on
justify it.
stage.
I mean, I am no way defending saying
Sure,
that
of
word,
course.
but I say there's definitely a difference between intentionally stealing people's jokes to further your career and saying a word in your set.
At that point, were we sure that he knew he was stealing?
I
know
mean-
he's admitted it since then.
I mean, that was
There
the
was
whole
one
reason
time
Joe
he
was like calling him out was because he
parallel
was.
thought idea.
I mean, wasn't that the whole reason Joe was calling him out was to call him out?
I think it was calling him out as stealing. I don't know if
Yeah.
Mencia had admitted to it yet.
But now we
I don't
know.
think he admitted to it until that Marin episode.
Yeah.
Right?
And even then, he tried to double back on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are, it's
They say
interesting
double
stuff.
back. Get it? I don't.
Or what
Thanks,
if,
Clay joke.
what if that was the hate speech or the heckler, whatever, comes before you go on stage? And like, all right, now that guy, his act screwed up my shot at this audience. With the hierarchy and how you be polite to other comedians, is not written down anywhere. It's something that evolves every time we go to a club.
I mean, general human respect is, I don't think you need to write that down. Just like basic respect of another person.
Well, that I pioneered this. I'll have like a little comment or something about the comic when they come off stage as I'm hosting.
The Rick method, they call that.
Yes. Mike Kaplan did that on Last Comic Standing in the finals. DiStefano with
Mike DiStefano.
Mike passed away. Mike made some comment about like, oh yeah, you can see my tattoos too, or something, basically positioning himself as being the opposite.
Yeah.
Of what Mike, because Mike opened with something like, I'm, clearly I'm a hoodlum or something, and Mike came out with like, clearly I'm a hoodlum. So it wasn't really a slam, but it wasn't, it was still referring to the other guy's act. And there was a lot of talk, a lot of hurt feelings about that.
Really?
You don't refer to the other act when you do your, because the other act they can't defend themselves.
So Mike DiStefano was offended that Mike Kaplan did that?
Yes.
Really? They must have gotten over it, because I remember before he died, they seemed friendly.
Yeah. I believe it was a should have asked Mike.
I don't know. That seems like kind of a ridiculous hurt feeling.
Well, I mean, your
To be honest with
generation's
you.
grown up with it. You know, there's always sort of comments here and there. But yeah, when I was starting out, you never referred to the other act because, you know, you were talking out of school.
Well,
Ah.
once again, Joe Rogan has dominated the podcast, and once again, Joe Rogan is responsible for some words of ill repute being uttered in a comedy studio environment. And what are we gonna do about that? I might bleep those words though, Rick, in post.
Probably should.
Okay.
But look, we're all learning.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Doug Fitzgerald might have heard us say it, but that's about it.
Is Doug watching? Hi, Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Oh, cool.
Thanks for watching.
Hey, Doug, haven't seen you in a while.
Donald Trump is dead.
We ready for recommendations?
Yes, go.
Okay. I did exactly what this is supposed to be, and stopped in a place I had never been before, and not really a style I'm used to, and stopped by Momo Curry here
Oh,
on
Momo's
Somerville
great.
Ave for
It's very
Indian
good.
food.
Mhm.
And I'd never been there before. I generally don't venture past pizza and burgers, and I got some Indian food, and it was very good. And they're just one of those little shops that I think really does need the support. Because as I've been saying,
Mm-hmm.
your favorite restaurant is probably going to be able to get through this. It's your second and third that don't have that regular clientele who's going to make a point of going there. And I think they're one of those places that the little mom and pop place that could use an extra order or two a night.
What did you get?
The chicken masala,
Chicken tikka?
Chicken tikka masala.
That was your first time having Indian food?
No, first time there.
First
Oh,
time
okay,
there.
good.
Are you gonna go back?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
Indian food's delicious.
And for
Tell-
comedy,
Ask him for a discount.
yeah, we're plugging you. Obviously, on Mike Kaplan, broccoli and ice cream,
Mhm.
it's trending very, very well. And
What it is?
when I looked it up yesterday, we had the most bars for popularity.
Nice.
Very nice.
And one of the books, I'm reading a whole bunch of books now, just picking them up and putting them down. But Judy Gold's book,
You mentioned this last week,
well,
yes.
yeah, and there's a real cool quote I had not heard.
And boy, wouldn't it have been nice to have had her for this conversation we just had? Because isn't her whole book about yes, I can say that?
Yes, I believe that's the title.
It is the title.
She's like, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a real cool quote that she attributes to Lenny Bruce, which I had not heard, but
Uh-huh.
I think it's such a great quote that I believe her.
Okay.
And you may have to bleep something here.
Okay.
Apparently, Lenny Bruce said, "When we lose the ability to
Hang on,
say
can I
fuck-"
stop you there? Can I stop you there, Rick?
Mhm.
Can you just censor yourself and let us know which word that you, instead of saying the whole word?
It's
Can you
the F
just-
word.
Okay, great. Say that. Okay. Can I hear the quote now? But
The whole point of the quote.
okay, then say it.
When we lose the ability to say the F word,
Uh-huh.
we lose the ability to say F the government.
Hmm.
Wait a
which
minute.
F word?
Wait.
Fuck?
Yes.
We've
well,
said that
that's
word
not-
all the time.
Yeah, why would I bleep that word? That word is the most poetic word in existence. There's another F word that you said earlier in the episode.
Which
when
word
you were
do you
quoting
think we had a
someone.
problem with?
Yeah.
earlier?
Jeez. Do you want to hear my favorite Lenny Bruce quote?
Yeah.
I am not afraid.
Mm.
Do you
I
get
like
it? It's
Yeah.
from the REM song.
I like
Lenny Bruce.
I am not a
is the-
comedian. I am Lenny Bruce.
He's the guy from Miss Maisel, right? I didn't realize he was a real guy. He's
And
the
Miss
guy.
Maisel takes that story from Joan Rivers.
Mm.
Lenny Bruce just happened to stop into a little club, and Joan Rivers was up there and bombing, and her first year or two, she just got nothing. But he wrote a little note and just said, "Hey, I think you're pretty good," and left. And the manager gave it to her, and she kept that in her wallet for like the next, I think, pretty close to when she died,
Wow.
as just a reminder of, hey, even if you're bombing in front of the audience, Lenny Bruce thinks you got something. Stick with it.
It's a nice story.
So what's your recommendation? Is it the Judy Gold book?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the full title? You got it handy?
I believe it's Yes, I Can Say That, subtitled when they come for the comedians, we're all in trouble.
Very brave words. I would like to recommend Walter Reed Hospital. It's in my neighborhood. They do great work. It is a local business.
Can't wait to get out.
And for my comedy recommendation, I'd like to recommend the novel Gun with Occasional Music by Jonathan Latham. It's I read it probably 6 or 7 years ago, and then I have Audible, and it's one of his books that's included free with your Audible membership. So I listened to it again, and it's like a sci-fi noir dark comedy dystopia book, and it's good. Gun with Occasional Music by Jonathan Latham. It's a quick read.
Great.
Yep. All right, Eli, take us home.
All right, my local business recommendation. I'm gonna pop in Himalayan Kitchen in Union Square, Somerville. Whenever I was at the club, that was one of my favorite places to get food from. They're $5 8-piece Momo dumplings, great. Their barbecue ribs, great. And their samosas and lo mein are great. And then for my comedy recommendation, I recently rewatched the original Shrek movie with my girlfriend, and it is a really good movie still.
It's good, yeah. Besides all those references, it holds up pretty well.
It held up great.
Yeah.
A lot of current references.
No, there weren't many pop culture references. There was just mostly fairy tale references.
Oh, then maybe I'm thinking the second one. The second one has a lot of of the time pop culture references.
The first one really didn't have a lot of pop culture references in it, other than I guess the songs in it, but they're still recognizable.
It's a good movie, Shrek. You ever seen Shrek, Rick?
Nope.
Come on.
Shrek is a great movie. It's a really, really good one.
Yeah.
I've also not seen the Showtime. Just did a special on the Comedy Store.
Mm-hmm.
I did not.
Another
see that
one?
because I don't have Showtime.
Yeah, they did. It's an interview series, like a documentary series.
The Comey Show, right?
Yes, very similar.
All right, guys. Well, Daddy's got some bleeping to do. No, I'll look. How do we get around this though? Should I put a content warning? No, I'm just gonna bleep it.
Yeah, let's bleep it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rick.
And then we'll put in a question.
Let's
What do you
listen to you for next time though? Please.
bleep it? And then put in a question that asks the audience, tell us what you think Rick said.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, based on context clues.
We want everyone to know we're politically correct.
Yeah, I don't think it's even being politically. I don't think the show is politically correct, but there's
You probably just shouldn't say it.
we are humans. Beings. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Get home safe. Remember when we used to say that when we weren't all at home? Okay.
We've got weekend shows.
Yes, thank
We
you.
got
Mention
shows every
those.
night. Boy, the lineups. Great job, Booker of the Comedy Studio.
Eli Levy.
Great,
Danny
great
Hatch.
lineups this weekend.
Eli, you should take credit for the good lineups you've been putting.
Oh, I don't even know what I do around here anymore. I think I sweep the floors. I wash cars.
All right, guys. Yes, buy tickets to our shows. Come to the class showcase. Sign up for the class or the workroom. I promise you won't hear any inflammatory slurs again.
I promise.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Ooh, pizza's here.
Bye.